Bryan Kohberger was allegedly able to stab 4 Idaho college students to death in just a few minutes, well, it's a big question for the prosecution to explain to the rest of us, specifically the jury, but some insight into his past may give us some clues. Turns out Kohberger knew how to use a knife. Bryan worked as a fish cutter. He was a fillet man when he was in high school, trained to cut and fillet raw fish. I know how to do it. Means you gotta know how to use a knife. We'll see how Kohberger was.
Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies starts now.
Happy holidays, Reporter Room investigators. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me here on Reporter Room. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. We have so much stuff to get into. Let's get into it. Today, we're going to be tracking Bryan Kohberger's movements during the wee hours of November 13th of 2022, leading up to what happened to Ethan, Santa, Kaylee, and Maddie. We're going to go through potential evidence against BK. We're also going to look at who he was following on Instagram and how much he interacted with those accounts. So, will this tell us once and for all who the target was? We're going to do a deep dive into what we've learned about BK's online search history. We have so much important information to dig into. It's believed that Bryan Kohberger tried to conceal his location by turning off his cell phone shortly before what happened at the 1122 King Road house on November 13th. Now, despite this, law enforcement was still able to trace BK's path, and thanks to surveillance video of his car and the cell phone information in the minutes before and after his phone was switched off. So let's talk about BK's connection to at least 2 of the victims and his online search history. We're going to dig into all of that in just a second, so please stay with me. If you haven't already hit your notification bell, please do. I'm going to be airing this trial on my channel. So if you live in another country or you live in the United States, but maybe not in the correct time zone, go ahead and subscribe to Reporter Room. We're going to be watching the trial here together as a true crime community. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And let me know what you think about the house being torn down at 1122 King Road. Let's consider the path that law enforcement was able to put together of what they believe the perpetrator took to and from the 1122 King Road house on November 13th in the wee hours of the morning. According to the affidavit and surveillance video, it's believed that BK left his Pullman, Washington apartment a short time before 2:45 a.m. on November 13th. Now, surveillance video on Washington State University's campus has BK's white Hyundai Elantra traveling toward Highway 270, which connects Pullman to Moscow at 2:50 a.m. on November 13th. Now, this same white Hyundai Elantra is tracked going westbound on Indian Hills Drive, just east of Main Street in Moscow around 3:26. And I'm going to be digging into BK's online search history and the victims he was following on social media in just a second, so please stay with me. Everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion, and opinions are not facts, so please don't send any negativity to anyone. Let's be kind to each other. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. 2 minutes later, the Hyundai Elantra is seen traveling westbound on Steiner Avenue at Main Street. Now, court documents say that multiple surveillance videos caught this same Elantra in the King Road neighborhood at 3:29 a.m. So, we know from the videos that we have seen that the white sedan makes not 1, not 2, but 3 passes around the 1122 King Road house. And then at around 4:04 a.m., the car returns to the 1122 King Road house for a 4th time. Next, the vehicle is captured leaving the area of the King Road house at high speed at 4:20 a.m. So by my calculations, that gave him 16 minutes inside. That is plenty of time to walk up to the door, let yourself in through the patio, head up to the third floor, and do what he did that night. And I'm watching my words here. So I think that this case is going to be primarily a circumstantial case. And this means that the prosecution is going to be building it piece by piece. I think they're going to have the phone pings. And I think they're going to have some more videos that we haven't seen of either Bryan in that Hyundai Elantra driving to or driving from the crime scene, or maybe something that specifically identifies the particular Hyundai Elantra that was caught on video as belonging to Bryan Kohberger. Circumstantial evidence that I believe the prosecution is going to bring to the trial are going to be that search history. And we're going to dig into that in just a second, so please stay with me. But let's go back to what happened with that Hyundai Elantra after 4:20 a.m. because another surveillance video catches that Hyundai Elantra driving south on Walenta Drive again. Now, around 4:15 a.m., BK's phone is turned back on, and that phone was tracked near Blaine, Idaho. Further tracking was consistent with BK traveling south to Jenny's, west to Uniontown, and north back into Pullman, Washington. So the phone was turned off during the time that these crimes were committed. It would be a huge coincidence, another huge coincidence, combined with the cell phone pings in the area of the house, the fact that his car was seen on video camera, the fact that his phone pinged near the house on 12 separate occasions leading up to November 13th of 2022. It's a huge coincidence that his touch DNA just happened to be on the knife sheath underneath and to the side of Maddie. It's another coincidence that his vehicle matches the Hyundai Elantra, seen making 3 passes before finally parking near the 1122 King Road house. Bryan Kohberger is either the most unlucky guy in the world, or he was there that night. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think about the alibi that the defense is putting forward? Do you think this alibi is enough for you? Do you think that Ann Taylor is going to come forward with a different alibi? She said that Bryan Kohberger likes to take long drives. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, let me know what you think in the comment section below, because I have some really smart subscribers. I think that she had to put him in the car. We're not quite done with BK's travels that night, because at 5:25 a.m., the Hyundai Elantra is picked up on 5 different cameras on the Washington State University campus, traveling on Stadium Way from Nevada Street to Cougar Way. Now, do you think it's possible that one of these 5 cameras captured either a license plate of the Hyundai Elantra or an image of BK inside that car? Is this why defense attorney Ann Taylor had to make his alibi that he was driving that night? She had to place him in the car. What do you think? So the root of the white Elantra is just one piece of evidence that led to his arrest. And this doesn't include all of the other evidence that's been found since that time. Remember, we've just seen the tip of the iceberg. We still don't know what law enforcement found on his computer. We still don't know about the searches that he conducted on multiple sites, including Amazon.com. Did he shop or do searches for that K-bar knife? Again, if he did during this period of time, it would be yet another coincidence in what is probably going to be a circumstantial case. Now, I believe that the state of Idaho prosecution team feels very confident about what they have, which is why they've chosen to make this a capital punishment case. Now, let's talk about BK's social media interactions with two of the victims, and then we're going to dig into his online search history. In yet another coincidence, you may recall that Steve and Christy Gonzalez spoke with 48 Hours correspondent Peter Van Sant for the, quote, Night of the Idaho Student Murders, which is now streaming on Paramount Plus if you want to watch it. Now, they say they discovered digital evidence, and they say that this digital evidence showed connections between BK and two of the victims. In the interview, Steve and Christy provided screenshots of an Instagram account that they believe was Bryan Kohberger's Instagram account, and those screenshots included what they say is a list of people that he was following. And according to what they showed 48 Hours, he was following Maddie and Kaylee on Instagram. Now, Christy Gonzalez says when they attempted to cross-reference the accounts of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, it appears that this Bryan Kohberger Instagram account had been interacting a lot with Maddie's Instagram. She said, quote, you would go to Maddie's Instagram account and look at her pictures, and he liked them. So he was putting the hearts, tapping the heart button on her photos. She said, quote, he had liked them. Bryan's name was under a lot of Maddie's pictures, liked her pictures, liked that picture, like that picture, like that picture, and that picture. So he was actively looking at the Instagram account, end quote. So what evidence do you think the prosecution will present against Bryan Kohberger that we haven't seen already? Law enforcement could have so much more that they haven't released and won't release until the trial, which will be coming up, we believe, this summer. So let's dig into BK's online search history and what law enforcement has been digging into. New documents show that law enforcement issued a search warrant for Reddit, TikTok, Google, Snapchat, and AT&T. Please subscribe,